Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Welcome on the last day of this holiday weekend. I'm Bill Cannon, a 27-year NYPD veteran, retired NYPD Sergeant. You know, we've done so much coverage on this case. Of course, Madeline Soto, the little girl who had such a tragic life. But we haven't covered much of this here, what you see on the screen. And that's Stephan Sterns' parents, Debra and Chris Sterns, discuss Stephan's dysfunction and his relationship with Jennifer. We have praised the Kissimmee Police as well as the Orange County Sheriff's Office in regards to their investigation in this case. And I don't pull it back. I continue to praise them. The thoroughness of this investigation, and in any major investigation, and this is, of course, a homicide investigation, among other things, we want to see an in-depth, robust victimology. And a victimology, of course, is the study of the victim. And by doing that, we find out everything we need to know about the background of the victim. You know, how old was she? Where did she live? Who were her relatives? What grade was she in school? In this case, because she's a 13-year-old girl. You speak to her classmates, speak to her teachers, speak to all of her family members, speak to her mother, speak to her mother's boyfriend. And in that in-depth victimology, the answer to who did this is going to pop up. And in this case, and I'm not saying it was easy, 100% it was not easy, but it popped up and they got the answer in, I guess, probably 2 days. They got the answer. Well, although I believe that this man, Stephan Sterns, even initially in the initial police interviews, I believe he was a suspect initially. As soon as the detectives met this guy, as soon as this guy started coming up with inconsistencies, as soon as you saw his body language, as soon as his manly voice turned into this little whiny, I have ADHD and I'm not a morning person. As soon as he started doing things like that, in my mind and in my police antennas go up. And so they, of course, in the case of the Kissimmee Police and the Orange County Sheriff's Office, because they are consummate professionals. So as soon as they started hearing that from this 27-year-old whiner, he became suspect numero uno in this case. And as such, they started putting this case together with great painstaking detail, an 80-page supplemental report. And really, police departments call them different things. NYPD, we call them complaint follow-ups. In Kissimmee, they call it supplemental police reports. And really, every time a detective, a sergeant, a police officer speaks to someone in the course of an interview, they're supposed to write it down to memorialize the conversation they had. And after they write it down, they do what's called a supplemental police report. And that becomes part of the case folder. And when you read the case folder, the chronology of the case folder should tell a story. And it should make sense. Because you don't start at the end, you start at the beginning. You don't start at the middle, you start at the beginning. So that's why this chronology of an 80-page police supplemental reports on this investigation was so thorough, so well done. I just cannot praise the Kissimmee and the Orange County Sheriff's Office enough. So we're going to get into this tonight, and we're going to look into these two people, Debra and Chris Sterns, discussing Stephan's dysfunction and what it meant to them and how their lives were affected by this guy on the left, Stephan Sterns, the 37-year-old man-child, as many of you have gone to call him. So, folks, hang on to your hats, hang on to your point of view, hang on to your perspective, hang on to your loved ones, hang on to your cup of coffee, your glass of wine. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch Microbizer.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
Joining me tonight, and I'm going to get him right on the show quickly because he's an important component of this show. Retired NYPD Sergeant, criminal justice professor at Albertus Magnus College in Connecticut, attorney. Welcome to the show, Professor Sergeant Michael Geary. Hey, Mike.
Bill, good evening. Good to see you. And welcome everyone to the chat. Welcome.
Mike, I think everyone likes to see you jumping into this because they realize you're the voice of reason. I can go off the edge once in a while, but that's all right.
I try.
You need some emotion, and you bring it back down. Anyway, Mike, we're going to listen tonight to Stephan Sterns' parents, and we'll even compare some of the interview with the parents with some of the other recordings we had, the police recordings we have. One of the things that I note that when we listen to Stephan Sterns speak about his parents, in one of the interviews, he was like, they're old and they're losing their hearing. They're like preparing for the end of their life. They don't look like two people in this thumbnail that are preparing for the end of their life. They look like two people that are living their life. And if anyone's preparing for the end of the life, it's this guy on the left. Your thoughts?
Bill, yeah, when you hear him talk to the detectives and they're asking about the family, and he's like, when did you come, to Kissimmee? And he's like, I was up in Northport with my family. They need my help. They're preparing for the end of their life. And I just thought to myself, this guy can't even hold down a job. He can't even get himself out of bed. And here he is telling the police that, his parents need him to help them with their end of life plans. Once you get to know the guy, the cops must have been like, this is ridiculous. This guy can't even figure out a way to, tie his shoelaces. And yet he's trying to put himself out there as a person who's going to be, helping everybody, helping Jen, helping Maddie, helping his parents. That just is like, you just wonder, it's an odd thing to say. Why did he say it? It was gratuitous. He could have just said, I was there with my parents. But very odd when he says that sort of thing. It doesn't smack of any sort of reality whatsoever. Not at all.
Mike, I listened to some of the parents' interview, and of course, we're going to put it on the screen. We're going to listen to not the whole thing because it's an hour and 40 minutes long. But one of the things that when they describe their son, Stephan Sterns, it reminds me of a parent describing like a 15-year-old or 16-year-old stoner, someone that's trying to find himself in this world, but is 15 or 16 years old and smokes weed all the time and spends time playing video games and stupid card Pokemon and all this nonsense and spends his life sleeping. To me, that sounds like a kid going through adolescence, not a 37-year-old man who still hasn't found his way in this world, still can't hold down a job, was working at Disney World, apparently. We all know that there's a company that, charges, rapes families for going in there, what they charge families to go in there, but they pay their employees next to nothing, So it's just like incredible. And that's where he was working.
Yeah, when his family talked to the detectives about 6 or 7 days after they found poor Maddie, and you hear, and as you read the detective's notes in the supplemental, you read between the lines, and you get the feeling that they've been so frustrated. Whenever Jennifer's been there, they're not really disapproving of them. They're taking their prescription medication. Whenever he's there by himself, all he does is sleep all day. He's up all night. He's eating, just seeing them for dinner, and that's about it. He's got this really. It sounds like you're talking about a teenager or something like that, a troubled teen, and they seem very frustrated, upset. They don't really probably know what to do with this guy. Um, they don't trust him. They don't trust him with money. They're probably in some ways happy that he was leaving the house again to go down to see Jen and Madeline. And they know them a little bit. They may not approve of them, but they know them a little bit. But yeah, if you didn't know that the subject of the conversation was 37, you would have guessed that they were talking about a high school sophomore.
Yeah,
not a
absolutely.
37-year-old man.
Army mom, he said they were preparing for end of life plans. Yeah, isn't that true, Army
Yeah.
mom? Something. They're probably my age, and I'm not preparing for end of life plans right now. And if someone said that about me, I'd be highly insulted. End of life. Kathy Rivera, he's waiting for their money. You know something? They indicated that they think he steals from them too. So here's this 37-year-old man-child goes home to their house and steals from them. Are you kidding me? 37 years old. Apparently, he stole a Rolex, and most Rolexes can be worth anywhere from $6,000 to $20,000, depending on how old it is and how rare it is. But if you have someone in your family that has a Rolex, it's a real piece that no one wants to lose that. And they accused him, well, not to his face, but they suspect that he stole the Rolex, I believe, belonging to Debra Sterns' father.
Oh, Billy, they don't trust him because not only you have that, and they talk about having storage, and he doesn't have the key to get into storage. I think he doesn't have a way to get into the house except through the front door. I think he can't enter their house through their garage. Yeah, they are very much on guard with this guy because they have a track record with him, and he's not reliable. He doesn't tell them the truth. I think what comes through with the cops when they talk to them is that this guy's he's slick. He's not truthful. He's not forthright. He's not honest. He's just somebody who you can't turn your back on the guy because he might take your wallet. Yeah, he is. It's almost like you're living with somebody who's a crackhead or a drug addict or something like that, and they need to steal all the time. There's a low level of stealing nonstop going on, and I think in some ways, it weirdly, I don't mean it's not like praise or condemnation, is that in some ways maybe they feel like a lot of the answers, a lot of the questions they may have had about what he was doing, why he was doing, when he was doing it, have all been answered through this arrest.
Yeah, absolutely. Faces of Meth from the chat. My mom has the house full of poodles. Yeah, we all heard his interview. It was like, I can't really take it over there. There's always dogs barking and they're yelling, they're deaf, and the house full of poodles. I was like, then dude, get the hell out of their house. You're 37. Get out. Stop complaining. Shut up with that whiny voice. It's just incredible. And, it seems that whenever he gets in trouble, and I mean, even financial trouble, when he needs money, who does he turn to? He turns to Daddy. Daddy, I need $600 to pay the rent. Pay the rent in a room. He's staying in a room. But they so wanted to get rid of him out of their house that he paid the money.
That's right. That's right. Because Jen's father actually owns the unit. And so therefore she's living there, and she's charging people to live there to help supplement her income. And here's this guy, she's making him pay $600 a month. He's no longer her boyfriend, and that's all he can do. He can barely, I don't know how he made his money, but if it wasn't for the generosity of his parents and the willingness of Jen to allow him to live under her roof, her father's roof, he'd be under a highway overpass. That's it. He simply cannot, make ends meet in any way, shape, or form. And and unfortunately, with all that has gone on, and we realize how much dysfunction between his parents, he and his parents, and between Jen and Stephan, you see that poor Maddie is in the middle of it, and she's surrounded by this family unit that her mother has made, and it's dysfunctional right from the start.
I'm going to play some of the interview of Debra and Chris Sterns, and we'll break away from it and make comments. But let me play some of this. I don't think many of you have heard it as of yet.
Yeah, bald guy, probably wearing a SWAT shirt.
No, that didn't work. That happened. There was somebody else I thought was from Kissimmee PD, but and I thought actually you were him, but obviously not.
So
You're better looking at him.
I appreciate it. But since I'm the lead detective and he's my partner in the case, we kind of want to get eyes and talk to everybody that's involved. That's the
I
whole
really
reason.
expected you guys. Yeah.
So the reason we're here is basically try to get a background of what you know about Stephan and Jennifer's relationship and that sort of thing and stuff like that. So we can do it one of two ways. I can just give you guys the floor and you can let us know what their dynamic was, or I can do it question and answer wise, whatever's more comfortable for you.
Well, if you do it question and answer wise, you'll get the answers that you wanted. If you let us sit here and ramble on for half an hour, you may not get what you want. You still have to ask the question.
Fair enough for me.
We can fill in the gaps.
Yes.
All right. So any idea how long Stephan and Jen have been in a relationship?
7 years.
7 years.
7 to 8 years, somewhere in there.
Okay. And was it constant throughout those 7 and 8 years, or on and off, or?
They were friends first, close friends first, and then it evolved into a romantic relationship. I think probably the first 18 months was just friendship, and then it changed from there. And no, we did not like the relationship.
Why not?
Didn't approve of it.
No.
Why
She was
is
a
that?
bad influence on it because of her
Drugs.
well, drugs plus I think she was taking medications for depression, anxiety, what have you, and I just didn't feel that she was going to be a good influence for him.
She's bipolar. She's bisexual. She's a drug addict. She had a young child. The family was disapproving, and she was sharing those drugs with Stephan. And I don't approve of vaping. We don't do any drugs. We don't even drink. I can't even take specified medication for pain because my body rejects them, and I get really, really sick from them. So, I mean, went through open heart surgery on Tylenol.
Wow.
So it's
And they were both
She's nice. She's
they slept all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, we had a hard enough time dealing with Stephan sleeping all the time, and now he's got a relationship with somebody else that does it as well. It's just like they were feeding off of each other, and none of it in a positive way.
You know, probably it's not a good idea, Mike, for two mentally ill people to be going out with each other that have the same sort of habits. All they do is sleep, you know, and they're taking antidepressants, and they're just spending most of their time. What do depressed people do a lot of the time? They sleep, right?
Right.
Is that because they're trying to sleep away their life because they're so unhappy? But again, here's his parents saying, "Oh, we didn't approve of it because she was mentally ill." Well, but you know something, so is your son. And you know the old expression, "Birds of a feather flock together," you know, is true in this case. So look, I can understand why they don't want their 37-year-old son hanging out. He's living in a condo, which really is like a flop house when you think about it. Out of the 4 bedrooms, 3 of them are occupied by tenants, you know. And how do you live like that in a condo? I'm surprised the condo complex allowed that anyway. People that aren't related to each other living in that type of situation.
Yeah, Bill. The parents are sitting there looking at their son, who's pretty much like a turtle on its back, helpless. The guy can't tie his shoes, and then here, you know, he was friends with Jen, and then it becomes a romantic relationship, and they're looking at this, and they see Maddie, you know, poor Maddie, and they're looking at Steph, and he's probably going to regress. He's probably not going to make any advances, if he possibly could make any, to maybe get his life on track. He's got Jen, and she's having her challenges because she's taking medication, And I'm sure maybe one after effect of the medication is that it makes you sleepy. But on the other hand, maybe she, the medication isn't being, her treatment isn't being watched carefully by someone, another doctor, to make sure that she's taking the right amount, changing dosage, things like that. But I could understand as a parent, you're always concerned about your child and the effect that the people they hang out with have on your child. And then to throw this poor Maddie into the mix and have these two people being in charge of Maddie, I'm sure his parents were looking at that saying, it's, oh yeah, he likes her. He likes Jen. Maybe that's a little bit of a positive influence for him, for Steph. But on the other hand, they're looking at the way Jennifer's living her life. And they're saying, this isn't going to work out good for my son. It's not going to help. And I could understand, as a parent, you want to be protective and a little bit disapproving of someone who they've bonded with, who's really not raising them up, really helping them out, really kind of just making it more difficult for the son to try to get his life on track.
100%. Let's go back to the conversation right now.
That's why I disapprove. I disapprove of a lot of Stephan's.
Well, that's the only
People.
thing, only thing her mother and I approved of together was the fact that we didn't approve of the relationship, because if Jen started spiraling down one of her holes of depression, she took Stephan with him.
Mm-hmm.
If he was depressed, he brought her in. And it was just always like a balancing act with those two. This is not good. It's not a good dynamic.
When you said they were always sleeping like constantly,
Yeah.
were they taking medicine to go sleeping, or they were just
They would fake out.
Well, Stephan has a sleeping disorder, sleep apnea. So he's been tested for it, and his he would be up all night and sleep all day, type of deal. And
I'm not a morning person. We know that. We've heard that before.
Right.
we really didn't have that much physical interaction with them.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that we just observed from a distance, and trying to talk to Stephan at times, but we just really didn't have any social activity with him to speak of.
When Stephan would be here in town, like what would his routine be? Is he a homebody, or?
He locked himself in his room, and we would see him maybe once in a while, tell him dinner's ready, but he was constantly in his room all the time.
He was painting his little minis for Warhammer.
Yeah, he's
He
obsessed
spent a
with
lot
all
of
that
time
stuff.
doing that. A lot of time learning the new books as they came out. A lot of time online. He did go play Warhammer with the guys once a week. Tried to get him to go to the beach. Tried to get him to go to church. Tried to get him to go shooting with us.
Yeah, there's a good sideline for a potential killer. Let's take him shooting.
You're
Let's
right,
take him
right.
to the range. Let's teach him how to shoot. Let's teach a mentally ill person who's on all kinds of antidepressants. Let's take him to the range. Let's teach him how to shoot. I thought you'd have some thought about that.
I was just like this, like, oh my God, I there's not much to say beyond that. Like, what part of that sounded like a good idea? But I guess they were looking for anything to get him out of the house. It would have been nice if they didn't include firearms, but that is, I could imagine they're at wit's end trying to get this guy just to go in the sunshine, go to the beach, take a walk. Yeah. And Warhammer and painting figurines. It sounds like an activity of like a 10-year-old or 12-year-old.
Yeah, dude, get out of your room. There's a big world out there. There's a big world. There's sun, there's beaches, there's jobs,
Yeah.
There's a thing that you don't like, that 33-letter word called job,
Right.
and
Exactly.
that you're sleeping all day and, up all night, and, sleep apnea isn't something that prevents sleep. It's stopping breathing, and there's machines for that called a CPAP machine.
Right.
And there's other remedies for that, mouthpieces and stuff like that. So that's not an excuse for not sleeping. I think really his excuse for not sleeping is more mental illness than anything else. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime, from a police perspective, you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed to us, just go right on the screen, click that subscribe button, become part of the Police Off the Cuff family. Join us. And if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 4 different levels, and we have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels. And someone, I did an earlier show today, Lou Lemoracco, just donated 10 YouTube memberships for 10 lucky people. And I appreciate Lou Lemoracco, outstanding that he did that. So, when we look at this case, I'm sort of baffled and sort of interested in Debra and Chris Sterns here, because I just feel like their behavior is enablers, but inappropriate. I mean, if I had a child like this, a man, if this was my son, you think of him as a child, I would be devastated. I wouldn't be voluntarily, speaking to the police and recorded and it's all over social media. I would be absolutely devastated with this. Mike.
Bill, yeah, maybe they didn't ever think that there would be a FOIL request and that these things would be all over the internet. And perhaps because Mr. Sterns, Chris Sterns, had been a sheriff's deputy in one of those counties maybe years earlier, he had a different familiarity with the police, that it wasn't such a big deal to talk to the police, that he'd probably interviewed many people in his job as a police officer. But what comes across to me is total frustration, but they're not hiding it all. And so that's kind of interesting. Maybe perhaps they just want to let people know that, look, we had a normal family. It's not like we did anything wrong. We love our son. Yeah, we made some mistakes. Yeah, we've kind of enabled him, but we're trying to move him along, trying to get him out of the house, trying to get him alone. We didn't raise him to be some sort of deviant. And there's nothing in our family, in our history, in our actions, in anything that we do that would make him or entice him to act that way. So maybe there's a little bit of that, just trying to prove to other people that, we are just like a lot of other families that have members of their family who are in prison or do terrible things, that, we're devastated by this. But we didn't do anything, and we're willing to talk to anybody about this because, we have nothing to hide. Maybe there's a little bit of that too. I'm not sure.
Well, there might be, but Mike, not only is he mentally ill, but he's a criminal. Yeah. And, we could talk about the SA, but we can't because YouTube doesn't want us to. But the 60 felony charges, that is despicable. And of course, it manifests itself in a murder, which is the worst thing you can possibly do. The other thing is that when they go back to Debra and Chris Sterns' house, Chris voluntarily turns over to the police a hard drive from Stephan's old computer that had 35,000 bad images on it. All right. So this wasn't something he started doing last week or 2 months ago. This is an ongoing course of conduct. And his parents even felt that he always seemed to have money, even though he kept borrowing money from them. He had a savings account, they said. They were shocked at that. So where was he making money from, Mike? He was making money in a nefarious, underhanded, criminal fashion, I believe.
Yeah, Billy, we've talked about this, and we think that he was selling images online, and that's disgusting. But I think there's something, maybe a cleansing kind of feeling that's saying, look at some of the other things that they found in his room in his parents' house. I'm not even going to mention those things, but they found them and they turned them over to the police. I think they want to I think there's a cleansing feeling to it by saying, here, take it. We don't have anything to do with it. And maybe it helps them feel better. Like, okay, our family rejects this kind of terrible stuff. You've told us what our son has done. He's been arrested. Take anything and everything you want. Here it is. In fact, don't even bother with the search warrant. We'll just give it to you. Just come on up and we'll just give it to you. And so I think that's their way of, I guess that, everyone copes differently with grief and with trauma. And I think maybe this is their way of trying to deal with it as a family unit by saying, we reject everything. Just take it.
I reject Satan,
Right? Exactly.
Kissimmee, Florida. I get it. It must be extremely hard for a parent to literally disown their child no matter what age. I know tons of enabling parents who will not cut off their grown kids no matter what. Kissimmee, great point. And I'm not making light of it. It's still your flesh and blood, no matter what they do. And to disown them is difficult to do, but I don't think it can get much worse regarding the conduct of Stephan Sterns here. Karen French from the chat. What is worse still, when they stayed at his parents' house, Maddie slept in his parents' bed. That had to be looked at. His parents are so weird. I just don't get them at all. Yeah, I find the parents, I just don't, I guess their behavior, sort of their enabling behavior, it's tough for me. I don't totally get it. I just think their reactions to this are somewhat divergent towards how I think I would be or other people might be. The opposite, the antithesis of the behavior I would expect. Mike.
Yeah, they're very open. Chris was very open with the police, especially because having been a law enforcement officer. And I'm not sure if you're going to be playing it, but there's a section where he was talking to the police, an audio file, and he said to the police that when he talked to Jen, like after poor Maddie went missing, he talked to Jen, and she told him about Stephan because he couldn't get in contact with Steph. That she was really flat, really didn't seem very interested, and they talked and they went out for coffee or something after one of the interviews with the police, and she showed no emotion whatsoever, no sign of being nervous, no sign of anger, no sign of trauma, nothing, no worries. And she was actually having normal, quiet conversations. And he found that very off-putting. And he thought that was very telling. So I think he was very, very open. And I think he wanted to be open because I think he in a maybe a subconscious way, he wanted to put some of the blame with the police. He wanted to put it on Jen's shoulders because he kind of let the police know that Jen seemed rather odd in her behaviors, and maybe subconsciously he was trying to kind of get some of the blame on her, maybe take some of the heat off his son. Not sure.
From the chat, Zoe 413, extremely judgmental people. Well, Zoe, I think if you had a son like Stephan Sterns, you would be running for cover right now and looking to be judgmental and try to make sense of what makes no sense. Debra Marks, I believe he is 37, not 27. Debra,
yeah,
that is what I said. I said he was 37. Unless it's my New York accent, you couldn't understand it. I don't know. But no, I said he was 37. But everyone's calling him this 37-year-old man-child. Sharon Belko, these people sound like complete buffoons. They also let that baby girl down. I agree. Nina Chandra, in other words, they're druggies. Yeah, these people are drugged up. Look, in our society, many people use drugs every single day to get through their lives. I'm guilty of drinking coffee. There's a drug, right? There's caffeine. I mean, it's not an illicit drug, but it's a drug that gets us all going in the morning, right? Other people keep taking other drugs to keep them going, and they take other drugs to go to sleep. And we drink alcohol, don't we? I'm speaking for myself. I personally do. Hopefully not excessively, but we all This is an addicted society, a society addicted to drugs to wake up, drugs to go to sleep, drugs to feel normal, drugs to take the anxiety off, drugs just to be level on that boom, boom, boom machine, you know? And so, yeah, these happen to be drug abusers.
Yeah, Billy, they sitting there, and between the two of them, there's not one person there. When you look at what the home that poor Maddie was raised in, she's got her mother who's taking narcotics, who has some serious, issues, mental health issues, and she's probably under some sort of doctor's care. And you got Steph coming in and out of her life, and he is probably in much need of a doctor's care, and he's taking some sort of narcotics. He's also vaping and things like that, so he's not helping himself. And then
I was going to the vape shop to get my vape juice,
yeah, it's like, and you're sitting there like, okay, how old is this guy? And then Maddie's got is living in that home, and there's two other tenants there, and so they're sharing probably common space like the living room and stuff. But Maddie herself was actually had a partial wall built. There was a wall behind where she could sleep, where her bed was, and like that's no way for a child to have, not even to share a bedroom. It's not even a proper bedroom. It's just a partition in a living room. That's really difficult for her. And these are the people who are helping her, raise her, and they can't even help themselves. That's a disaster. It was a disaster for years in that house.
Absolutely. Courtney Chudnaki. I love that parents say Jen was a bad influence on Stephan. Who cares if she was bi? Their son is an evil, murdering PED monster. Courtney, I agree. You're preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
Gomo Gomez, I doubt he was the boss with Jen. She was at command, and they was executing her orders at home. Selfish and egoistic woman. Wow. The Jilly 1337. He's a typical Orlando druggie. I don't know what a typical. There is a typical Orlando druggie. Anything similar to a typical New York druggie? Dragonfly lady. I feel sorry for these parents. They're completely blind about their own son. In my opinion, they are making excuses for his behavior all the time. Dawn Marie, first of all, welcome, Dawn Marie. Good to see you. They are mentally ill. That's true. Both Stephan and Jennifer are mentally ill. And you know something? I'm not, I may even vote for the parents. They're not all together either. I don't see it. So you don't drink alcohol, you don't use drugs, but some of your behavior is not exactly copacetic. I'll use a police word. Alley Cat, I do get a little tired of people picking on these parents. There's not a hell of a lot you can do. Alley Cat, I guess it goes all the way back to Stephan Sterns' childhood, and that would have been the time to try to change his behavior. And I wonder if they just entertained his behavior instead of trying the hard love or tough love to correct it. And look, we're all members of families. We all came from extended families. You always have someone in your family, whether it's immediate family or extended family, that is the, let's say, not the person you're proud of in your family. I know we had one in my family, and I think it pretty much is in all families. And it's right. Maybe it is unfair to totally point fingers at the parents, but where does the buck stop in a family? Mike?
Yeah, Bill, I would, you picked up on it. It goes back to, maybe Stephan's childhood. Not to say that they didn't provide him with a decent home, but if he was showing any sort of signs of mental health, I would hope that they'd have picked up on it, but they might not have. Not everybody is attuned to that sort of thing. Maybe he wasn't good in school. Maybe he wasn't very, very sociable. Maybe spent a lot of time gaming and things like that. And so they may have thought it was a developmental thing, that he would grow out of it, and then he'd meet somebody, and that he'd get a job and eventually do something. He probably held a few maybe some meaningful, gainful employment, maybe, but maybe at one point the whatever it was bedeviling him got the better of him, and he just deteriorated from there on. I'm sure there was a point in his life where he was pretty much a normal 15-year-old kid, chronologically speaking, not mentally speaking, like chronologically speaking, and that but he the whatever things that he's dealing with in his life, he didn't get the proper treatment for it, and he's suffering for it. But it doesn't, of course, excuse anything. But we owe sometimes. Hindsight is always 20/20. When you turn around wherever you are and say, okay, now I know how I got here. But going forward, you can't predict the future. And yeah, did they enable them? Sure they did. Sure they did. But sadly, even many people do those sorts of things and not always give tough love. But the other part about the abuse, that is a totally different animal. And we don't know where that would have come from unless he himself may have been somehow abused in the past.
Absolutely. Mary Lindsay from the chat. I really hope Stephan's mother is watching this. Please know that your son is the worst possible human being on this earth. He has been, I can't say that on the show, a little girl since she was 5 years old, and night and day. Clover, I have depression from traumatic experiences, and yes, I tend to sleep a lot, but I'm not meds, and I don't abuse anyone. And I'm on a lot of meds and I don't abuse anyone. Clover, thank you for all you folks that do come forth and speak in the chat and tell us about your own lives and how you've had tough things happen to you. I appreciate that, and we are very sensitive to that. We both, Mike and I, have dealt a lot with a lot of this on the NYPD, and we always believed in trying to help people and do all we could to help, and that included not just the public and civilians, but other cops too, to go out of your way to help someone that's having a crisis in their life. Dawn Marie, I doubt the condo complex knew about it, right? Dawn Marie, I can't imagine they did condone that. Usually in the bylaws in a condo, X amount of people that aren't related to each other are not allowed to live in a unit. It's usually spelled out in the bylaws of a condo. So yeah, this seems like they were skirting the rules, and it didn't seem anyone really called them on it. Let me go back to their conversation, and I moved it a little bit forward.
This is very hard. But she, sweet girl, she was. But then she started, in the last year, she started showing signs of bipolar as well. And Jen was horrified by that. They were butting heads like two rams. They were fighting all the time. And they're presenting a very different family dynamic than what they told us was going on.
And you witnessed them butting heads, or?
No, I would be on the phone with Stephan. I would hear them going at each other in the background. That's and I would say, "What's going on?" Well, Maddie and Jenny are at it again, and I gotta go break this up. So he would go be the peacekeeper. But I just put that down to puberty. She went to puberty. She started puberty at 11.
Right.
Hormones in me, but anyhow, she developed quickly, became pretty precocious, and other than that, I don't think she had a lot of friends at school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she was a very social person. She had been, if you remember, Stephan and Jim both told us that after she began developing physically, that there were some boys.
I'm
that
gonna
were
s-
going
I have to move past that because I don't.
Because we were welcoming the break.
Mm-hmm.
What do you buy her as a gift? You said you got her a gift?
I had ordered something, and they looked marvelous, but then I got it, and I think this is really probably too juvenile for me to wear. It's called Mermaid's Beads, and it's made out of sea glass, and it was a dual color bracelet, and they had the stud earrings and the same thing, and they were kind of opalescent. So they're really neat. It's by No Goo, and it's mermaid tears. But I said, these are still in the box. I've never even worn them. said, why spend money on something? This is something she would really like, because I knew her enough to know this was something right up her alley. And I said, this is $90 worth of a gift, that's just going to sit where it could be doing good someplace, somebody could enjoy it. So just gave him the boxes and said, are you going to gift wrap them? He said, no, I'll just take them like this. So.
How did you guys come to hear about everything that happened on Monday?
So I tried reaching Stephan. He called me when he got to Kissimmee Sunday.
Any idea when he called you?
I know exactly because I wrote out the timeline this morning.
Okay.
6:48 p.m.
Okay.
But then I noticed on some pass that he was out around 8:30, 8:48, and there were 2 some pass tolls. And I said, well, maybe they had gone out or something. But I said, okay, that's a little weird. So that I tried to get a hold of him several times Monday morning, or maybe noonish or so, maybe as late as 2:30ish or something, and then I get a call from him at 3:17, and his voice sounded a little off to me. I thought, well, maybe he was just tired, and then maybe he didn't get a good night's sleep or what have you. And then during that conversation, he says, "Oh, by the way, I had a flat tire." Radar goes up. I go, "What do you mean you had a flat tire? Where could you have gotten a flat tire?" And I'm not going to say you can't pick up a flat tire anywhere, but he's just driving from here to the apartment and shouldn't be driving anywhere else per se. Oh, I just got a flat tire. Okay, where? 192. And then he described the fact that the tire was so flat that he ran the rubber off the wheel. Okay, 192, plenty of places to pull over, and you're driving the rubber off the wheel. So then he described that he was changing the tire and that didn't have it set right, and the jack collapsed somewhat and trapped his thumb between the frame and the jack, and did hurt himself severely. And I think the conversation lasted about 3 minutes. And I said, well, let's get the car into a tire place and see what's going to cost to repair it. I'm sitting there counting, it's going to cost me several $100s for this now. And then that was it. And then 4:54, I'm just getting out of the car, meeting a customer. I'm going to take him into a house, and he calls, and he says, I'm en route to Maddie's grandmother. There's been an occurrence. I said, well, that's a strange word to use, but okay. And then I'm thinking, well, this is weird. 2 events in one afternoon, the flat tire and now this. And so he said, well, I took Maddie to school this morning, and I dropped her off just down from the school because Maddie didn't want to be seen dropped off in front of the school because I'm not driving a cool enough car. I said, okay, well, understand that. Teenager, peer pressure, what have you. And he said, I watched her walk towards.
So, Dad, I think you should buy me a better car so that I can be cool driving her to school. I mean, first of all, I think that this story he's telling his father seems like he's making an excuse already to his father about having the flat tire, because we all know that's where he dumped Madeline's body, right near where he had the flat tire. In fact, that's where they took tire imprints and put it into evidence. So was he practicing his alibi with his father before he told the police this story? I think he may have. Even the language he was using. I had a little event or incident. Is that what he said? It was an incident or a little happening. I don't know exactly what word he used.
Yeah, Billy, it sounds like he's rehearsing it, because he then tells the police later on, the exact same thing. I was looking in my rearview mirror. I saw Maddie, shuffling along and looking into her backpack. He's trying to get the words out. He's probably rehearsing so that when he does it under pressure in front of the police, it'll come off as sounding realistic. But I think you're right. And the father, now in hindsight again, looking at that, saying, yeah, that sounds really crazy. But his father is amazingly honest and perhaps saying things he shouldn't be saying, but he's telling the police all of his suspicions about his own son. And that's really a little bit off-putting. But yeah, I think you're right. This was Stephan's attempt to rehearse, go through it once with somebody in your family, to see how it goes before you go into the police interview. Run it by somebody, see what it sounds like. And that's what I think he was doing.
I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
The other thing, as I learned, the more and more I learned, and the more and more supplemental police reports, the more and more I read and listen to these interviews, I'm really almost thinking that that Jennifer knew about the murder too. I don't know if that's a blockbuster, but I'm really starting to think that. And when the media, not the media, but the police and the district attorney said, "Oh, we have no charges to charge Jennifer with," I find that ridiculous. I really do, because we both know if they wanted to charge her, they have charges. She could be charged with, neglecting a child, endangering the welfare of a child, complicity through omission. There's a lot of charges they could have slapped on her. So I'm thinking that down the road, she's going to be charged. And I would not be surprised if she could be charged as an accomplice in this murder, because all the lies that she told previously in her other interviews, I think one lie leads towards the fact that potentially you were an accomplice.
I agree, Billy. I've gone over this. Your thoughts on this have evolved. My thoughts on this have evolved, and we picked up on a lot of things in the beginning when she first went over her story with the police and said that she took them to school. We took them to school. She used the word we, took them to school, and I saw Jen. I'm sorry, I saw Madeline at 7:30 that morning, or that sort of thing, and then she had to backtrack everything. And my feelings, like yours, my thoughts have evolved from being that she's just not paying attention to, perhaps in some ways, that all of these little miscues, these little mistakes she's made to the police, they were, all intended to try to cover her own tracks, just to show that, Steph, nothing was done wrong. She's well cared for. We got her to school. We got her breakfast. We did this. We did that. And more than just a slip of the tongue, I think that she's sitting there covering up. And I believe that, like you, on some levels, she may have known really early on. And I thought maybe she didn't know until maybe late afternoon, 4 o'clock, after she was told by the parents, the teachers. But I really think that she knew much, much earlier that something was up, something was really amiss. And perhaps she knew as early as 2 o'clock in the morning, when there was a lot of noise coming from that bedroom. I think she did.
Absolutely. Mary Juarez from the chat, I think he was definitely selling images online. How else did he make money by not having a job? Mary, I agree with you. Gina Verdi, Jen was a lazy parent who pawned her off to Stephen so she didn't have to deal with her. Gina, you know something? I don't disagree with you. R. Whip, his mom was yelling for Maddie when police showed up. Kind of strange. Yes. A lot of things about this case are kind of strange. In fact, very strange. The thing that is the strangest to me is that when the images were found on Stephan Sterns' phone, Jennifer called his father and said, "You better get him a lawyer." And she explained to the father, Chris Sterns, what they found on his phone, which happened to be images of her daughter. And she's telling, how strange is that? She's telling his father to get him a lawyer. I found that to be, Mike, consciousness of guilt.
Yeah. Listening to that audio tape where the father explains that to the police, that he gets this call from Jen, and then when he takes care of business and he's talking to Jen later on, she's very calm. She's not very emotional. she's not crying. I think he even said to the police, he opined to the police that if the roles were reversed and that, he was the parent, that he would be like wanting to scream and beat somebody up. He'd be so upset and emotional. And he was really put off by the fact that she was total flat effect, that if you didn't know what had just happened to her, that you would have guessed that she's just doing her daily shopping or something, going through her day. He was really off put by that. And I think that's very telling, that the fact that she knew what had happened, she probably knew, and she didn't want to see it, but she just knew it happened. So long as she didn't have to confront it, she was okay with it. And you don't get to do that when you're a parent.
Absolutely not. Kissimmee, Florida, the most jaw-dropping part of the parents' interview was the alleged dream that his mom said she had on how Maddie died and who did it. Stunning. But was it really a dream, or did Stephan Sterns tell her? Kissimmee, I agree with you. That is really hard to digest, hard to understand, and it could be everything you just said. It's really, it's very disturbing, folks. Again, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button on the screen. Give us a thumbs up. It helps us send this show out to cyber world via YouTube. Let me go back to the interview, because this interview is quite interesting.
School, down the rearview mirrors and pulled away. And so then he goes on to describe that she wasn't, it's been reported that she wasn't at school. Like, we went to pick her up and she wasn't there. Then we come to find out she had been at school all day. And then he starts to describe that the area is a high abduction area. Kids are stolen for abducted, kidnapped, for sex trafficking. And that there's a good chance that she's been abducted. Typical questions. Well, what have you done to try to locate her? Have you contacted her old friends, social media? Where's her phone? Oh, she left her phone at home. Oh, okay. Yeah, she does that from time to time. And it was a 3-minute conversation, and he was sobbing. He was really sounded upset that he was holding himself responsible for this. Mm-hmm. Same routine that he did in that Tuesday interview. I think he was rehearsing it on me. Mm-hmm. And it was exactly the same routine, same explanation, the whole deal. And so then I kept in touch with them throughout the evening, because they were waiting for police to show up, and it was hours, and I just kept checking in, any news. And then that was it until Tuesday. And then I didn't talk to him again until Tuesday. Maybe it was the afternoon. And again, just trying to get an update. What's going on? And then as the day expanded, then police were now more involved. And there's interaction between, I guess, your department and the two of them.
Mm-hmm. When backtracking to Monday, so you talked to him, you said you tried calling him. When you tried calling him, did the call go right to voicemail, or did it ring a few times?
Combination of all of that. I mean, let me get my notepad.
And by the way, Jim had mentioned several times that Maddie was going through a phase where she didn't want to look uncool, and that it had become their routine to drop her off 1 block from school and pick her up 1 block from school.
And she told you this?
Yes. And never said anything about it being a high traffic area or anything like that. She just said, it's a straight shot. We can see the school. There's an overpass. We make sure nobody's in the overpass,
Mike, that was such an easy one for the police. When Stephan Sterns said that he dropped off Madeline, he gave them the exact location, and he, at the time he said that was easy for them to check video in that area, and she was never dropped off, period. And then when he started making up these stories, and when we go back and we talk about deception and not being truthful, That's what the police would look at. They would look at, let's go search that area. Let's see. They already had they have amazing license plate readers in this part of Florida. Not just the cameras, but the plates go into a database and tell you where that plate went and what has going. It's incredible. It's an incredible database. So there was no record of him dropping her off, no video. He never dropped her off. So then it's so easy when you interview someone and you know truths against their lies. When they start lying to you and you already know, no, that's not true, because I saw the area you said you dropped her off at, and you never dropped her off. They never, in the interviews, when you heard the two detectives, Detective Frank Hunt and Mara Tadler, they never got upset. They never raised their voice. But they were very effective in saying to him, wait a minute, how could you have been there when you were here? How could you be two places at the same time? And when you start hitting people with logic, that's when they start doing their perpetrator tap dance, you know?
Yeah, Bill, he must have worked out before in the early morning hours, some sort of idea that he was going to come up with just a basic excuse. I drove her to school, something about McDonald's. I dropped her off. She's fine. Love you. Bye. See you later. That sort of thing. And in his mind, and maybe perhaps even with Jennifer, they cooked it up themselves as just like a basic, not too deep, not a lot of breadth, not a lot of depth, and then just that would fly. And then as soon as they they got his car, they started running his plate to see where he was, and they're asking him these questions, and they know, and they were fantastic because you noticed how monotone they were. Rarely at all any emotion whatsoever. They're very thorough, short questions, brief answers, and these questions are designed to be answered pretty quickly so they can get information out to the units looking for poor Maddie. And what they get is, deception, lies, a lot of quiet I'm not sure, I did this, oh, I went back, I had to do this. And they know, and as you say, they've done this before. This isn't their first case. They've done others, and they're used to this sort of thing. And in the back of their minds, they're saying, this guy's lying, this guy's lying, this guy's lying. Why are they lying? And so that will lead to something else. But he only had a cheap little lie. He threw it out there. Talking to somebody else, yeah, maybe that lie would fly. But talking to the police who've done this hundreds of times, maybe more, it's not flying with anybody. And thankfully, those license plate readers helped, just close that net on him real quick.
Mike, the outstanding female detective, Detective Mara Tadler, she works for Orange County Sheriff's Office, but special victims.
Mm-hmm.
And so does Frank, I think it was Detective Frank Hunt. They did the most outstanding investigative job in interviewing Stephan Sterns and Jennifer Soto. So those are the two that, and they're not the only ones, but I point out to them because they did a specifically outstanding job.
Yes.
Moreda Yvette Pagan. Jen was money hungry and lazy, working part-time to collect state benefits, renting out rooms in a home she doesn't own. I feel like she would have definitely, I'm not going to say that just because YouTube gets all upset when you imply things like that. But Moreda, thank you so much. Great intuition. Holly, yes, Stephan Sterns is 37. Yes, he's 37, but 37, you put it in a different way. That's 100% correct. Corey Edwards, he looks really old. His dad looks younger than him. Yeah, Stephan Sterns, those are 37 years, but they're dog years, I think, So they're 7 times the amount of 37 times 7, He does definitely not look good. Lady Guinevere, hey guys, just got here. Welcome. Nita Chandra, laugh out loud, yes, at police off the cuff. See a lot of new people in the chat. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe, guys. Michelle Brown, you're not psychologically well if you are a predator. Mental health is a key factor with these guys. Michelle Bowen, I said Brown. Bowen, yes, absolutely. Suhaila A., fully able adults that can't work because of anxiety. If everyone went on disability for a little anxiety, we have no workforce, for goodness sake. Suhaila, I think you're right. I think everyone has anxiety, and it's, I guess, how you deal with it in your life. Venus Gal, I thought all things considered, they were very forthcoming and did not protect their son at all. But even with blinders off, which they have to a large degree, they weren't there for all. You're right.
Yeah.
Kissimmee, spot on, Bill. If Jen was taking so much controlled meds, WTF was she off these drugs as they made her worse? Well, we know that they both seem to have slept their life away. They spent all their life sleeping, it seemed, and then playing video games and these stupid games that Stephan Sterns played all the time. A 37-year-old man doesn't have a job, but apparently likes to play games all day, Let me put this back up on the screen, go back to the conversation.
So we just watch. And then Stephan said he took her by himself. And then in the interview, Jen said, we dropped him off. She said it several times. And so I don't know if, do you want any conjecture or no? The conjecture is that she and Maddie are the same size. She wore Maddie's clothes with the hoodie up to cover the dark hair instead of the light hair. And that was Jen himself sitting at the church in the picture. Because obviously, from what we've heard, Maddie was already gone by that time. So this elaborate charade put on for everybody's benefit. And she's cool, calm, and collected, and he's a sobbing, wet mess.
So my call to him at 2:25 was 2 seconds, so no connection.
Gotcha.
And then he called me at 3:17, and that conversation lasted 3 minutes.
And you said he was upset at that time, or he seemed?
No, he seemed off, and I said, well, maybe the anxiety medications or what have you was keeping him somewhat kind of flat, monotone in a way. Nothing upbeat about it. And then, matter of factly, I had a flat tire. We talked about that, and then.
Did he plan on taking the car to a tire shop? Did you guys confirm that plan?
I told him to. I said, he's driving on a donut. And we both confirmed that, the donut wouldn't last long and that, he needed to get that quickly replaced. And I expected him to do it. I didn't expect for him to do it that day because that's not Stephan's modus operandi. I expected him to do it the next day. So then I didn't hear.
Yeah, why do today what you can do tomorrow, or put it off forever and never do it? Don't put off for today what you can do tomorrow. That's the favorite term of a slacker. Sin, thank you for the $9.99 super sticker. Jen got to sleep and well rested on her king size bed, and sent Maddie to bed with Stephan Sterns on a twin size bed. This is sad and a hard case to cover. Thank you for voice for the voiceless. Sin, thank you so much. We try to speak for the voiceless, as we always had in our police career. Karen French, his father tried to stop the police from checking the storage unit. The police were all over him, politely forced him to let them, where they found thousands of images they knew. I don't doubt, but the father did turn over a laptop that had belonged, a hard drive on an old computer from Stephan Sterns, which that's the infamous one that had 35,000 images on it. So whether or not I would imagine that will be added to his felony case involving those 60 felonies. He's got more now. And that case is going to precede the homicide case. So he could very well get life for just the images case. Mike.
Yeah, they got time for that to develop that homicide case. There's no statute of limitations. And what they want to do now is get the conviction. And once you get the conviction, if he's convicted of possessing these cases, proving what he did, what he physically did, then that will be an aggravating factor because when they come up before the next trial, for the second trial for the homicide, he will already have been a convicted felon for those crimes that were taken, but that were images on his laptop. So therefore, that's another aggravating factor that you could use to convince a jury to look to sentence him to death if they find him guilty. So that's why they want to do it in that order. That this trial with those images right now is so important because that's the precursor to the bigger homicide trial later. But this is the first one, and they want to get it right. And unfortunately for him, everything, the receptacles for those images were his. The only thing he could ever possibly say, perhaps, would be that, this is my dad's computer. Try to impute some sort of responsibility into his father. But I don't think that's going to work. I don't know if he would ever do it, but I don't think that it would even be successful. But this is coming first. This is the biggest one. This one is supposed to be starting in the near future. So it won't be a very involved trial. It seems like it's an open and shut case. Fingers crossed for that one. But that's the most important one right now.
Absolutely. Gomo Gomez. I think Stephan Sterns was a simple, spoiled mama's boy who decided to stay forever a teenager. I think you hit it right on the head, Gomo Gomez. Cat H, he worked at Disney as a ride tender. That's, I wonder if he studied for years to get that job, I mean that facetiously. And I think, his parents had great problems with him working a job like that. I think he'd be better off working a job than no job, though. Creative crisis. Parents of mentally ill kids may have little support and can get overwhelmed. Getting the right care isn't always easy. Parents can become enablers out of sheer exhaustion. Creative crisis. I'm not making light of this. Probably very difficult. Stephan Sterns probably showed signs of mental illness very early in life. Whether they got him the help to try to correct it, I don't know. But I don't want to make any excuses for this guy. He's a savage, and he deserves whatever is coming his way, which justice will be swift and severe in this case. Venus Gal, his parents, especially his dad, threw him pretty well under the bus. Give them some credit, people. This isn't Aiden Fucci's mom or so many that can be mentioned. This is just really such a horrific case, and I always go back to when we listen to the interview or interviews. We're not going to listen to the interviews, but the interview of Stephan Sterns, and when we just listen to what he's all about, it's just almost hard to listen to.
Okay.
I don't recall. You have to ask her if we went anywhere. I don't recall. I was so zonked out on Ativan at that point.
Okay.
To say it was a wreck. I don't.
And this would have been when?
I don't recall us going anywhere last night, but honestly, at that point, my brain was mush, and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. I was just.
You said Ativan?
Yeah.
Do you usually take that, or?
Yeah, I have a prescription. I haven't needed it in a long time, though. But
what's that for?
Anxiety.
Okay.
I was having these rolling panic attacks and breaking down crying, and I just.
It got one. Sorry.
Thank you.
You think when he says he was having these panic attacks and he was breaking down crying, do you think the detectives commiserated with him and felt bad for him?
Billy,
No.
I think
The answer is
they
no.
were just smiling and nodding their head.
No, the answer is no, they did not. The answer is they were focused and they knew they had him where they wanted him, and he could keep talking all of his woe is me bullshit, but they had no sympathy for him whatsoever.
Not at all.
And it was the only way I could get to sleep last night. And then again this afternoon. That's why I missed your calls. I'm sorry. So took an Ativan and conked out for a few hours. It's the only time when I'm not crying. It's okay if I just pop down real quick.
So we're trying to get just a good idea, times, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm so sorry. I'm giving my best recollections. I'm not a morning person as it is.
Oh, there's the other
So-
famous term that he said during this interview. He must have said over 10 times, I'm not a morning person. And the other thing that we mentioned in our show is anytime someone being interviewed that's a subject over apologizes, that is also a sign of deception. And detectives know this. And when they hear it, they rear back and they dig in and they go after him like they did. And they went after him very subtly in this interview. They didn't get aggressive. They didn't get mad because in a case like Stephan Sterns, he would have folded like a cheap suit.
A lot of the times are best guess.
but we know that you go up Jongyang Parkway down. That's the road you usually take to take her. And then you make a left at that McDonald's, right? Which is the town loop.
You can make a left to get there either at the McDonald's or at town center itself. They both lead to the school.
So if you leave her at, just so you get a sense of direction, Jongyang Parkway goes northbound and southbound. So you're going northbound into Orange County, making a left at the McDonald's, which is the town loop. You said when you did drop her off at that medium, you said it was around 8:20, 8:30-ish, somewhere around that time.
Somewhere in there, yeah. It was early, but not like outrageously early, you know?
So what would you estimate when you made a left at that McDonald's to be?
After I dropped her off?
No, I'm saying when you dropped her off.
First left by that McDonald's.
Yeah, when you first go, that first left that you make at the McDonald's.
It had to have been around maybe 8, maybe quarter after 8, sometime in there.
Okay.
Sometime between 8 and a quarter after, I think.
All right. So just so it's, you can kind of picture it here on the map. So you're going northbound. You make a left here around like 8:10, 8:15. Let's say 8:15, around there. When you get over here, you make a U-turn. You go back to the McDonald's. But you said that she still doesn't want the McDonald's.
Still doesn't want it. She was just going to eat the Danishes that I had given her.
So you're going up here now, still northbound on Jongyang Parkway. You make a left at Town Center this time.
Town Center, then make a right onto, yes.
And then you drop her off around like 8.
Dropped her off around halfway up the road there.
So keep in mind, all of this is still northbound.
Okay.
Right? You're still northbound on Jongyang Parkway.
Northbound.
So why is your car seen going southbound at 8:10? I'll show you what location it is. McDonald's is over here. At 8:10, your car is seen going southbound at this intersection. So meaning going toward Kissimmee.
I had forgotten something. I had forgotten my gate clicker. I'm sorry. I forgot. I had gone back to the house real quick after we left because I forgot my gate clicker. I actually had to go through the front gate and use my parking pass to grab my clicker. So it was the wrong time. I'm sorry. Like I said, I was guesstimating these times. I'm not a morning person.
I'm not a morning person, and I'm guesstimating.
So yes, we've gone out.
How far did you get before you came back down when you realized you forgot your clicker?
Nearly nearly all the way to the school. And then we turned around. We had plenty of time to kill, so it was time to go back. I rushed back, got the clicker, and that's when I came back here this way.
So you guys came back here to get your clicker.
Correct.
So when we look at the cameras in the front, it's going to show you coming back in
Correct.
here with her in the
yes,
car.
Yes, with her in the passenger seat.
Okay.
Yes.
I know it sounds like we're asking you stupid questions. Okay, we just want to verify
okay.
the
I'm
times.
sorry, I'm not being more help. I'm not a morning person. I was half asleep as it was. I'm trying.
The clickers to get where?
Into our neighborhood.
Okay, and you forgot the clicker where?
I had forgotten the clicker here.
So how did you get in?
I was able to use my parking sticker for them to scan to let me through.
Okay, so could you not have done that after you dropped her off?
I could have, but I also like to come back in from the back gate a lot of the times, and I didn't know if I would be back right away. And sometimes they're busy up front, so it's better not to wait in the line.
What time is security usually there at the front gate?
They were there when I came through. He scanned my ticket.
You know what's amazing, and we spoke about this in our last show, is that when Stephan Sterns came back into the complex, he had a dead Maddie in the front passenger seat. And he had a live security guard open the gate for him. Didn't notice that. And I get, maybe I'm asking too much from a security guard to discern whether someone's alive or dead. I don't know. But never occurred to him, or didn't look. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Bill, I went over in preparation for today's show. I went over the audio file for the security guard, and in a way, I do have a little sympathy for him, because I mean, I'm sure this is terrible, because he feels bad about what happened, that he didn't recognize what the situation was. But he knew Stephan, so he kind of just said, "Here you go," and he led him through the gate because he had like a sticker rather than the clicker. But he probably was waving through a number of people, checking back and forth, and he'd gotten there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and here comes Stephan around somewhere around 8. So he's been on his job for a little bit, but I do feel bad for him, because this is something that's totally out of the ordinary. And he did say he did see Maddie in the passenger seat, belted with the seat back, and thought she was sleeping. And so I feel bad for him, because he's now the person who they had to ask an interview, and there he is saying, and then thinking that looking back, I saw her, but I'm looking at Stephan Soto. I'm making eye contact with him. I'm talking to him, and I just see the girl in the background. I feel bad for the guy, but that's tough. That's a tough position to be in right now.
Mike, I think he will forever be remembered as the security guard that allowed a guy to drive into a complex with a dead body in the front seat. I cannot sympathize with this guy. And sure, could it have been a mistake? And yeah, I mean, well, it was a mistake, but not the brightest bulb, I think, is going to win security guard of the month or of the year. But because, he'll always be remembered for that. If he stays being a security guard, he'll always be remembered for that. Oh, you were the guy that was on the gate when the killer drove into the complex with a dead child in the front seat. And again, it's not funny at all. It's sort of extremely, extremely pathetic.
So would it have not just made more sense to drop her off and come back since security's already there?
I don't know if it made more sense. It's just what I did.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Danny F., I got to answer one of your, from the chat. Doesn't Jen wash clothes? There had to be evidence over the years. Also, that room has a chain on the door. Why would Jen allow her child in that room? Danny F., you're 100% correct. Very intuitive. She knows. That's the answer to that question. She knows, and she cannot pretend she doesn't know. This was going on since I believe Madeline was 9 years old. So to think that she doesn't know or didn't know, I don't buy it. I totally do not buy it. So Danny F., thank you for your comments. You're 100% right.
Anything else that we haven't asked you feels important? Maybe that might help us out.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble recollecting everything.
I'm gonna step away for a second.
Anything that you remember, maybe she might have told you.
She didn't mention anything in particular. I made a joke about her Crocs. She wears Crocs and socks. So we were joking about that.
Would she say she's usually like a happy, go lucky girl?
Very happy. She brings a lot of joy. She's a very good girl. It definitely doesn't feel the same around here if she's not here. She was so happy too. She was looking forward to my visit here. She was looking forward to us all being together. She was just happy. She was just very happy. She does like video games, yeah. She plays Roblox, Minecraft. I think those are the two big ones that I know of.
You don't know her to like ever have any friends on there that she talks to, anything
She
like that?
does. She does group chats. She does like voice chatting too on it. Usually with like her cousins or her friends, and they'll all be playing Roblox or something, yelling at each other on the phone.
When's the last time you all lived together?
December.
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 And you said the reason was for your parents down there?
Yeah, going down to help them because they're getting on in age and they're making their end of life plans.
Oh, I love that. I almost can't believe he said that. So you guys heard that, right? Here's his parents. I'd say they're in the middle 60s, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see in that picture that they're making their end of life plans, but that's what he says. Listen to it again.
Does she like video games, anything like that?
She does like video games, yeah. She plays Roblox, Minecraft. I think those are the two big ones that I know of.
You don't know her to like ever have any friends on there that she talks to, anything
She
like that?
does. She does group chats. She does like voice chatting too on it. Usually with like her cousins or her friends, and they'll all be playing Roblox or something, yelling at each other on the phone.
When's the last time you all lived together?
December.
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 And you said the reason was for your parents down there?
Yeah, going down to help them because they're getting on in age and they're making their end of life plans and they need someone to help out.
Can you unlock this one more time? Please?
Sure.
His idea of helping out is going to their house and sleeping all day. That's his idea of helping out, because you heard his parents say he doesn't do anything. He just hangs out and sleeps.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, are you guys done?
No, we're good.
The other detective mentioned that you did not have your phone yesterday.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
I left my phone at home in the morning too. I was so busy riding her to the door on time that I left my phone. She left her phone. We both left our phones.
Did you have your phone when you went to the smoke shop?
Not the first time after I dropped her off. I was still without it. I got my phone and went back to the smoke shop later when I got home.
And then I also noticed, I was checking your call history, I noticed that you don't have anything before this morning. Is that unusual on your phone?
No, it's a new phone. Stupid. I went to do an update yesterday morning, and I don't know what the fuck. Pardon me. I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive OS update, I managed to factory reset my phone and lose all of my contacts, all my information.
Mm-hmm. What time was that? Do you remember?
Oh, sometime while I was hanging out with Jen. Jen might know. I looked at her and said, "What did I just do?"
Okay.
She might know better. I don't know what time it was. It was when I was here with Jen.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. Do you,
I
Louis?
don't know where my head was yesterday. It was so far up my backside.
That's okay. We understand. In the meantime, while we're waiting for all this to get sorted out, I am going to hold on to your phone, okay? I'll give it back to you when we're done.
Okay.
Okay? Do you have any questions for us?
How long are you gonna need my phone?
I'm not sure. I'm waiting for my supervisor to call me.
My dad. It's just my dad's using that to get a hold of me and get updates.
They can call Jen's phone.
Okay.
Did the other detective give you his business card?
I believe so.
Okay, well, here's mine in case you want it for any reason.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you swear that everything you told us is true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. I know it's a little hectic right now. And then I know you were about to head somewhere. If you can just hang tight and refrain from going back in your car, please.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. I was actually going to move it over a spot.
No, just leave it here. It's fine. Thank you.
Central Florida, I'm sure you're aware.
Case number 24-11313. Today's date is February 28th, 2024. The time is 00:16 hours. Speaking with Stephan again. Okay. So, as you guys know, they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've been going through the phone and they noticed that there was like a lot of messages between you and can you explain to me what your relationship is between?
Yeah. No, it was sometime in the morning. I've been pushing off doing an update for a while.
Was that before or after you went to the smoke shop?
Before?
You know, we spoke about that yesterday. That long.
That's another lie.
That's what people do
Mhm.
when they're stalling for time and they're thinking about the lie they're about to tell. And
That's
that
right.
was a real long,
You couldn't even keep it straight.
Phone to FaceTime with her, sometimes FaceTiming them both together on one of the phones.
Okay. And then yet you said that yesterday you accidentally factory reset your phone, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what time that was?
No, it was sometime in the morning. I've been pushing off doing an update for a while.
Was that before or after you went to the smoke shop?
Before? I'm not sure. I'm not a morning person. It's a newer phone. I was doing this update. It had some sort of weird option at the bottom that said something about reinstall everything, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing.
Okay, can you
Jen was
explain
right
to
there with
me? Where were you? Like, were you in your settings?
I was following whatever the links were for the OS update.
Where I don't have an Android, so I don't know where.
I'm not super tech
Is
savvy,
it like
I'm
a
so sorry.
text? Was it?
It was a push notification that came in at the top that I had just been ignoring.
Oh,
for
like
a
up
long
here.
time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it was a. It's a boneheaded maneuver.
Okay, and then where did it direct you to?
I don't know. It took me to a page with all the stuff in the system, and I clicked something. I wasn't paying attention.
Do you remember what it said? Like, what kind of update was it?
It was like a big OS update, and it had all these options, and it was like reinstall something with all the apps and stuff. Reinstall everything, the apps and stuff. I don't know exactly what I said. I pushed it, and it started doing the update, and then it turned into some sort of reset or something. I'm not sure how I did that.
Okay.
I was half asleep, and
then when you came back to get your key fob, what did you do when you got here?
ran inside, got the key fob, ran back out again.
Okay, where did you park?
Right up here, I think.
Okay. How long would you say you were inside your apartment for?
Literally long enough to run in, grab the fob, and come back out. So.
Okay, and then what did you do?
Most.
What did you do when you came back up?
Got back in the car and went back on the morning mission.
Okay. The camera has you in the complex for 12 minutes. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, coming into the complex, driving around, parking, getting the fob, coming back out. Sounds about right.
Okay. And then you leave. What time would you say you dropped her off at the school? Or not at the school, but in the area?
My estimate was sometime between 8:20 and 8:40.
Okay, the camera has you leaving the complex at 8:31.
8:31? Okay, so it must have been closer to 8:40 then.
Okay. And then after you dropped her off, did you go directly to the smoke shop?
I did. I went directly to the smoke shop. Waited. It was supposed to be open, but it wasn't. I waited a little while to see if they were just being slow about turning on the open sign. They weren't, so I went home at that point.
How long do you think you waited?
5-10 minutes maybe.
Okay, so if you drop her off at like 8:40, how far is the smoke shop from there to where you dropped her off?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many minutes. How far.
Did you go anywhere else after the smoke shop?
Sorry. I don't know. I don't think I went anywhere specific. I was just driving probably in the direction of home. But I don't remember stopping anywhere specifically.
And you were there for 5 to 10 minutes?
Roundabout, I think.
Okay, so like let's say you drop her off at 8:40. We don't see your car coming back south until 10 o'clock in the morning. So what are you doing between 8:40 and 10 o'clock?
Cruising around a little bit.
Okay, but I asked you earlier, like what you were doing, and you said you were there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then you came back home.
Yeah, well, I went to the smoke shop, like I said. But I may have been meandering around the area, but I made my way home.
Okay, but I'm asking you earlier, right? And even like the first time we talked to you, you're not telling us that you're like, just cruising the area, like you're coming home. So I need to be able to explain to my supervisors why there's such a time gap.
I mean, I don't know what to say. It was just a normal day. I didn't have anything important to do. The smoke shop was supposed to open soon, so I made my way over there. Wasn't any particular rush, though.
Okay, but can you help me explain to them? Because I don't know the explanation or the answer to this question, okay? So can you help me explain to them why there's such a delay in the time?
No, can't explain it. I wasn't going anywhere in particular. I wasn't doing anything in particular. Just making my way to the smoke shop. Waited for them to open. They did not open. And then I left.
Where did you go from there?
From the smoke shop, I went home.
Okay, the smoke shop is like 10 minutes from here, right?
15, 20-ish, something like that.
Earlier you told us it was 10 minutes.
Time is not a strong suit of mine. I'm guesstimating here. I'm doing
I
my
understand,
best.
but I have to be able to explain, you know, where you were for an hour and 20 minutes.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And right now, I can't explain that.
Okay. Smoke shop was supposed to open close to 10. I waited. They did not open. And I came home.
Okay.
What time specifically was it supposed to open?
10 o'clock is when it's supposed to open.
So why'd you go at 8:40?
Like I said, I didn't go exactly at 8:40. I went to the smoke shop after I dropped her off.
But even if it was 9 o'clock, that still would have been an hour before they're supposed to open.
Mhm.
So why would you think it would be open?
I didn't think it would be open. I was hoping I would get there early enough and wait for it to open.
So you would have waited an hour for it to be open?
I did not wait an hour. I got there.
This is when he gets a little testy. You see him get,
Yeah.
I did not wait an hour. All of a sudden, Stephan Sterns getting testy here.
Maybe 20 minutes before it opened, 15 minutes before it opened, and just sat and waited.
But then you're seen coming at 10 a.m. when it's supposed to open, already coming down.
Leaving because it was supposed to open at 10 a.m. I waited a few minutes after 10. They were not opening, and that's when I left.
You did not wait a few minutes after 10.
What do you mean?
At 10 a.m., you were seen coming down southbound on Jongyang Parkway at the intersection of Jongyang
At 10
Parkway.
a.m., I was still in front of that shop waiting to see if they were going to turn on the open sign.
Okay, but if you dropped at 8:40 and you said you only waited for a couple minutes at the smoke shop, why would you still be there at 10?
I waited to see if it would open, and they did not open.
We got that part. But you said you were there for a couple of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said you were there after, a couple minutes after 10. So that's...
It doesn't make
doesn't make
sense.
sense.
I apologize for that. I'm trying to help you out the best that I can, but I just...
Right. So, like, if you drop her off around 8:40, let's say, give or take 10 minutes, you make it to the shop around 9, the smoke shop, and you sit there and wait for a couple minutes for it to open. You said you waited for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, right?
Mhm.
Does it make sense that you're still there at 10 o'clock?
I was there at 10 o'clock.
Okay, so what did you do before that?
I dropped her off, and I made my way over. Not a direct route, but I made my way over there.
Did you stop anywhere on your way to the smoke shop?
I don't think so.
Do you have problems with your memory that you can't recall what you did?
I'm extremely ADHD. I'm sorry. So just details start to get fuzzy after a while. Even the times I'm giving you are my best guesstimates here. I didn't have my phone with me at the time, so I wasn't aware of exactly what time.
There's no time on your car?
Transpiring. There probably is, but it's not my car. It's my parents' car.
How certain are you that you were outside of the smoke shop at 10 a.m.?
90% sure.
What makes you think that you were there at 10?
I saw lights on inside the place. It looked like they were coming to life in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like they were about to open.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting to see if they were going to turn on the open.
Do you remember if there was anybody inside?
I couldn't see inside from the outside. But after I came home and then went back to the smoke shop again later, when they definitely were open, I stopped in and got my vape juice finally. I don't remember the name of the guy working there, but he was like a skinny guy, short, skinny guy.
When you came back for the fob, did she go inside with you?
No, she was in the car still. She was asleep.
Where in the car?
Passenger side.
The front seat.
Correct.
Okay. Did she at any point go in the back of the vehicle, like in the back seat?
No.
So she was in the front the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Awake or asleep?
She was asleep.
Okay.
She was conked out. We had gotten up.
How was she positioned in the front seat?
Leaned back in the seat, just kind of conked out, napping.
Where was her head in relation to the seat?
Against the seat, I think. Against it. Just
Was the seat leaning back or?
The seat was leaning back. Yeah, she had leaned the seat back so that she could recline and.
Okay. And then I need you to try to, refresh your memory. When you got the flat tire on 192, what could you see around you?
It's 192. It all looks the same. I'm so sorry. I'm drawing a blank as any specific businesses or names.
Did you pull off to the side of the road to a business?
I pulled off into a side plaza, like one of those little strips along the side. Dug around for my spare and my jack. Thankfully, we had both.
What direction were you coming in?
I was going towards John Young.
Okay.
So that direction.
These detectives are doing an amazing job, and they're very patient. They know he's lying. He knows he's caught in a lie. He absolutely knows it, but they keep their monotone voice. They let him know what they know, and what he's saying makes no sense, but they don't lose their shit. They stay on it, and they stay on him. And he knows, oh my God, they don't believe a word I'm saying.
And it was a plaza. You don't remember any businesses that were in the plaza?
I don't. I was focused on the.
What color is the plaza?
Oh God, I have no idea what color the plaza was. I'm sorry, didn't even register a detail like that.
Okay, remind me again what you were doing on 192.
I was looking around at different game shops. One of my card games just had a release on Friday, Lorcana.
What card are you talking about?
It's like a trading card game. And they had a big release on Friday, so I wanted to go around.
What's the card though?
I'm sorry?
What is the game?
It's called Lorcana.
Lorcana?
Yeah, Lorcana. It's a trading card game made by Disney, kind of like Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering.
Okay, and you stopped at what shop?
I stopped over by Target. I was going to see if they had any. I then went up and was going to go to a place called House Rules Games. That is on 192 and Oak Street.
Mm-hmm.
I did not make it to House Rules Games because I got a flat tire.
Okay, which Target did you go to?
The one down on 192.
192 and what?
Is there more than one down there?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the area.
It's the one down there by the Walmart, I think. I'm not sure what the cross streets are. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could be more help. I'm so sorry.
And how long will you change your tire for?
I'm not sure how long it took. I got back here by like 2:35, 2:40, because I was trying to get home to go with her to go to school, and we needed to leave by 2:30. The flat tire made me late for that.
Okay. And there's absolutely nothing that you can remember about the plaza that you got the flat.
No, I don't remember color. I mean, it's all just kind of brownish, I think, along there.
And you said when you got your flat, you were heading towards JYP from 192.
Yes.
Okay, where's your flat tire at?
It's in the trunk.
Okay.
I've got the spare on there right now.
Yeah, I saw the spare. I don't think I have anything else. It's my phone number. If you can remember where you got your flat tire, just have her send me a text message, okay?
Okay. I'm so sorry.
That's
I
okay.
know the details are important, and just the way our brains work with ADHD is those things can get fuzzy.
Are you on any medication?
I'm supposed to be. I have not been medicated lately, so
Okay.
I'm not a morning person. I'm very time blind on the best of days and forgetful. So I understand that none of that is helpful in this case.
Okay.
I'm pretty sorry.
I explained that we're gonna have the apartment secured for the rest of the night. Okay.
Why? So the investigation is not going to happen tonight?
It is. So
okay.
I explained to her, me and him have been out all day, right? So we're gonna go home, but just because me and him are going home doesn't mean that there isn't other people out here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We have another unit out here, which is called Violent Crimes. They're out all night. So they're gonna keep looking. We also have some of our detectives that were sent home earlier to get rest because they were gonna come and relieve me and him, right? So we're gonna take like shifts with the investigation. Because obviously if we're exhausted, we're of no use, right?
We're all exhausted too.
Right. Does
My
that
brain is mush.
right? And we don't want that to happen with anything that we're doing. So what we're doing is we're taking turns with whatever needs to be done. So we'll brief whoever's coming next, and then hey, this is what we did. This is what needs to be done. Okay. The reason we are keeping your house for the night is because your house cannot be completed by one person, right? We don't do that. We have a unit that comes and takes pictures and does whatever they need to do with the house. After a certain time, it's only one person working in that unit, and she can't do it by herself. So people come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. So when the rest of her squad comes in, they're going to come in and, tackle your place as a unit so that they can get it done quicker. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I explained to her too, because in your car, we are going to also tow your car. Okay. It's going to go to our sheriff's office, which is at 2500 West Colonial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She said she needed to get her medication. You're not under any medication.
I have medication in the house, though, that I do need to get my blood pressure meds and anxiety meds as well.
Okay. So I'm going to try to figure out where all of this stuff is. Where's your stuff at?
Upstairs in the guest room currently.
In guest room number 4?
Yes. And it's on top of the mini refrigerator.
Does it have your name on it?
Yes, all of it.
Where does she keep her medicine?
In her zipper case on her nightstand, I believe.
In the downstairs.
Correct.
What zipper?
It's like a little sort of brown zipper case. It's on her nightstand. So right on top of her.
Okay, so I can just bring the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any bottles on top of the nightstand around it too, but you might want to grab those. Yeah,
Is there anything that you can recall that we haven't asked you? I know we asked you like a whole bunch of questions earlier, and we just asked you like a whole bunch more.
I don't know. My brain is so mush right now. I barely slept. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm trying to think of questions for you.
Can I see what shirt you're wearing?
What's that?
Can I see what shirt you're wearing?
Oh, yeah. Just a blue shirt.
Okay.
Remember what shirt you were wearing on Monday morning?
I believe it was this shirt. I'm still wearing the same shirt.
Have you showered since then or anything?
I showered the other night. No, not since yesterday. Sorry, your hair is even still greasy.
I know you got a cut, right, from...
Yeah, from changing the tire.
Do you mind if I see your arms?
Yeah, go for it. I changed the tire.
Can
in
you
like,
do you mind taking your sweater off?
it's cold, but yeah. I changed the tire in like 10 years.
The picture I have up on the screen, he says he injured his hand in changing his tire. That looks more like a victim fighting and sticking her fingernails into your hand to fight you off from what we know now is that Madeline was strangled. So I mentioned this last night. They will absolutely, and I saw it in the supplemental report, they did collect underneath Madeline's fingernails, potential DNA that could belong to Stephan Sterns. If his DNA is underneath her fingernails, I mean, you figure it out. That is such powerful, powerful evidence.
I made a rookie mistake. Got my thumb too close to the jack in the frame and it slipped. Pinned my thumb in between the frame and the jack. I got lucky. I panicked and pulled it out,
Let me see
which
the other side.
you're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot
Go
of
like
pain.
this?
I panicked.
And flip your hand over. Can you see the other arm?
Mm-hmm. One of my parents used for a tire iron in there.
Do you mind if I take a picture of the part you got?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Let me see if the flash works. Okay. Can you go like this again?
Mm-hmm.
And then flip it over for me? Let me do this. Flip it over, please. Okay.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Well, that is the end of the interview. I think that, these, I can't say enough how good these detectives are. They're fantastic. And they also have evidence at this point that we don't know about. This is the 28th. So they haven't gotten his phone, the photos out of his phone yet. They do confront him with that. And it's in the supplemental report. I don't know if there's any recording we can hear of that, but it's in the supplemental report. And what he says is, I think I need a lawyer. And they said, "Do you want a lawyer?" He goes, "Yes, I want counsel." So as we know, at that point, the interview is over and there's no more speaking to him. But the evidence in this case and what we've heard tonight, even with Stephan Sterns' parents, Chris and Debra, evidence also, really strong evidence. Mike, we've been here almost 2 hours. I thought this was a very interesting. I hope I saw a lot of new people in the chat. Folks, make sure you hit the subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and welcome to the Police Off the Cuff family. Mike, your final thoughts. I can see you getting a little sleepy there.
No. Final thoughts are, as I'm thinking about the Jen's interview with the police, I'm thinking about his interview with the police. Not once did they ask any updates on Jen. What can we do? I think it's very telling is after they finished with their police reports, they went to bed. They didn't actually go out looking for Jen. Other people did, and officers went out. And I think that's very telling. So it's not so much what people say sometimes, it's what they don't say. And so you get the feeling that they may, and this is one of the reasons why probably both you and I concluded that Jen may have known all along. She wasn't curious. She knew that Maddie was deceased, and that is very disturbing. Luckily, poor Maddie is in a place now. She's in heaven. She'll never be hurt again by anybody. So let's pray for her and hope that Stephan and Jen get whatever justice there is for Maddie.
Mike, I've been saying, and I'll make this brief, I've been saying right from the beginning, I thought she was complicit. Now I think she's involved. Yeah. I think 100% she's what's known as an accomplice. And I think we're going to see her charged down the road. I absolutely believe that. And folks, I know you guys in the chat are very opinionated, some great comments tonight.
Yes.
I want to thank everyone for showing up and staying with us for, we're going to hit 2 hours in 10 seconds. I'm going to just let it hit 2 hours because I don't think very rarely do we do a show that's 2 hours. Anyway, we just hit 2 hours, folks. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. On behalf of myself and Professor Michael Geary, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your night, and God bless everyone. One episode just ain't enough.